In this video, we are recapping yesterday's severe weather outbreak. Also, the Storm Prediction Center has already issued slight risks of severe weather for the next 3 days. Beyond that, we are tracking a major snowstorm in Colorado and all kinds of crazy weather pattern changes as we go into June. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. Yesterday evening, we were live with coverage of two separate enhanced risks of severe weather. One was in the northern plains and the other was in the mid-south continental U.S. A warm front to the north and a mesoscale convective system to the south brought all kinds of dangerous weather, including large hail, straight line damaging winds, and torrential rain. We watched the storms ignite live starting around 5 p.m. and tracked the weather diligently across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Virginia, and North Carolina. The Storm Prediction Center received over 100 damaging wind reports from the event, 3 tornado reports, and over 200 hail reports. 25 of those were of significant size. Flooding became a big problem, especially in the areas around the St. Louis metro, and cars on the interstate were quickly inundated as the waters rose. A stray thunderstorm even wandered over into my neck of the woods, and we stopped outside for a few minutes to get a first-hand look at what was approaching. But as we often say on this channel, it's time to stop looking at the past and start looking into the future as the stage is set for our next big weather event. All right, let's get started here looking at the Storm Prediction Center map for today. Look, we have 3 separate slight risks today. One of them's over here in Pennsylvania. This includes Williamsport and Harrisburg. This also includes State College all the way over to close to Scranton, and this is associated with that mesoscale convective system that we had yesterday. We'll talk more about that right here in a second. We also have a slight risk of severe weather for the oven of Michigan all the way up into Rogers City and Alpena, way up in the northern portion of Michigan. Now, the severe weather will extend all the way up into Elliott Lake and the greater Sudbury area of Canada, so we'll take a look at that with the future radar right here in a second. But let's go down this big marginal risk area that goes through St. Louis, Springfield, and then kind of enhances a little bit on the border of Oklahoma and Texas near Wichita Falls, where we have another slight risk of severe weather that includes Gainesville, Texas, Ardmore, Oklahoma, and just about up there towards the Norman, Oklahoma area. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's outlook for severe weather. That cold front's not moving much, and as you can see, we've got a big marginal risk of severe weather and then a 2 out of 5 slight risk of severe weather for the northeastern side of St. Louis all the way up into Decatur and Champaign, Illinois, and then Lafayette, Kokomo, Marion, and Fort Wayne, Indiana are all included in this slight risk. And then look, there's a day 3 slight risk as well, way up here into the northern portion of New England and upstate New York. We got Albany, we've got all of Vermont and New Hampshire pretty much included in this, and then way up into northern portions of Maine. And once again, Montreal, Quebec, you guys are going to get in on some severe weather on this day as well. Okay, so why do we have all these slight risks of severe weather? Well, let's take a look at the future radar, where you can always keep up with the date and time above my head. We're starting off at 1 p.m. today, and we're going to zoom in over here towards Pittsburgh, where some really strong winds and some heavy rain has just moved through, and now a new MCS, or the remnants of an MCS, a mesoscale convective system, are going to cause problems around Harrisburg around 3 or 4 p.m. and then possibly cause some damaging winds in the Lancaster all the way over to Allentown areas as we go later on into the day. Watch this progression here. You see how this has like a backward C shape to it? This is what we call a bow echo. We could see some damaging winds on the front side of this if this is what the radar ends up looking like. Remember, weather models aren't 100% accurate. It won't look exactly like this, but it'll be pretty close. And as you can see, Allentown, Philadelphia, around 6 p.m., these storms are going to be moving through, and I'm really concerned if we actually do see something like this. We're going to see a lot of damaging wind reports coming out of the Trenton area all the way up towards New York City, and of course this goes out to sea by 7 or 8 p.m., and it's nothing to really worry about from that moment. Everybody from Harrisburg all the way up to Scranton, and I think Philadelphia, Trenton, and New York City are included in this. You guys need to be weather aware today, as we expect to see some very strong winds as we get into the afternoon and evening hours. Now, when that threat dies down, a new threat starts up over here south of Oklahoma City. 8 p.m. Eastern, we've got a supercell popping up just south of Norman, just north of Ardmore, and that secondary slight risk. Look at this. Maybe some big time supercells here between 10 and 11 p.m. These are going to be capable of producing very large hail, damaging winds, and actually, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an isolated tornado or two out of this bunch of storms over here. Now, it's not a big tornado threat at all, but it's going to be an overnight severe weather event, and we're going to see lots of rain, lots of hail, so make sure you're weather aware tonight in Oklahoma and Texas along the Red River region. If we come back to 1 p.m. today, we're looking up here in the northern part of the United States near the Great Lakes region, and you can see our cold front's going to sweep through up here and cause some big storms to pop up, especially in the eastern half of the upper peninsula of Michigan. We're going to see possibly some hail, some wind up there, and then once again getting into Ontario near Elliott Lake in the greater Sudbury region, we've got a bunch of big time storms moving through. These will have heavy rain, frequent lightning, some hail, and of course some damaging winds are going to be possible, but the tornado threat is going to be extremely low. Okay, here we are around midnight tonight. We've got some storms popping up in our marginal risk zone as well. Chicago, St. Louis, all the way down to Jefferson City and Springfield. You guys are going to be seeing these storms pop up, but it looks to me like right now they're not going to be that bad. Certainly some very strong winds, some heavy rain, flash flooding is going to be a big problem, but the tornado threat once again is going to be quite minimal. But that changes just a little bit as we go further into the day on Saturday. Here we are at 11 a.m. You can see that those storms are still kind of stationary in that same area, but once that cold front starts to really move and works its way into that unstable air in eastern portions of Illinois and a lot of Indiana, where that slight risk is for tomorrow, around 2 p.m. we're going to see some big thunder boomers go up in and around the Indianapolis region, and these storms absolutely could have some strong winds, damaging hail, and just a little bit of a higher chance of a tornado. Still nothing crazy, but there is going to be some elevated lower level jet stream winds here, and if there's a supercell that can form out in front of the main line of storms, we could see some tornadic rotation out here. It's not a big deal. The main threat with this is going to be the hail and the damaging winds, so don't be scared, be prepared, just have a way of getting those warnings, and it does look like these things are going to die out quite a bit as they get into eastern Ohio. So as we go even further into the future here, you can see that cold front's finally going to try to exit the country on Sunday, and as it does, whenever it gets into the northeastern portion of the U.S. here, our model only goes out to 2 p.m. on Sunday, but let's say that it could go to 4, 5, 6 p.m. We're going to see a new line of storms form, and that's what's going to create our severe weather in New England on Sunday, and that's why we have that slight risk up there. So we're not close enough to it to see the future radar, but strong winds and some hail, that's going to be the main problem with this. Also, just about every day this weekend, scattered severe weather is going to be expected in Florida as these popcorn summertime showers and thunderstorms pop up just about each and every day, and we are expecting some hail, some strong winds, and just some good old gully washers. Y'all are used to this in Florida. When it's May and June in Florida, it storms. You can put that in the bank, son. You can put your money where your mouth is, or something. I don't know. But speaking of money and places that you put it, let's talk about today's sponsor. Extra, the most efficient smart wallet in the world. Extra is changing the wallet game, so you no longer have to worry about those big, bulky wallets. Extra wallets use sleek, compact designs and high-quality materials like Italian leather and carbon fiber to give you a feel of quality and practicality in your wallet. I love that it's functional and I don't have to wrestle around trying to find a specific card because they're all easy to access. You can choose from a variety of wallet styles and materials to suit your preference. They even have a solar-powered tracker to allow you to see your wallet's location if you lose it or something. I'm so impressed with this wallet. I'm really sad that I didn't switch sooner. And if you don't, you're going to be sad too. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to keep you from being sad. So go to shop.extra.com/Ryan Hall to get your wallet today. You won't regret it. Once again, there is a link in the description. Go to that website. You will never look back in the wallet game, I promise you. Now, let's get back into the video. All right, moving right along. Once again, you see that hot pink area in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. That's a red flag warning associated with the extreme heat and wildfire conditions. And then just to the north of that in Colorado, you see the lighter pink. That's a winter storm warning for extreme cold and heavy amounts of snow. Okay, let's take a look at the NAM model starting at 1 p.m. today, and it's already snowing in Colorado, but it's not snowing in Denver yet. Check this out. As I push this into the future, here we are around 6 p.m. this evening. It is finally snowing in Denver. After days of heat, it is snowing, and guess what? It's snowing heavily. This is going to be a major snowstorm. We have incredible snowfall rates and temperatures dropping. I mean, this stuff is really going to pile up. Much of the I-25 corridor there is going to see 4 to 11 inches of snow, and the reason we're seeing that big swath is because there's going to be quite the temperature variation depending on where you are. Obviously, in the higher elevations, you guys are going to get clobbered with snow, but on the eastern side of Colorado, it's a little bit more tricky because the temperatures are going to be harder to forecast, and they're more than likely going to be on the warmer side. But check this out. As we go all the way into Saturday, we are starting to see some snow make its way into the panhandle of Oklahoma and into northern portions of New Mexico, where we are currently seeing just some groundbreaking heat. And here's the full progression on that. Once again, a major snowstorm in May. Can you believe it? Is there anything that can surprise us anymore? I don't think so. Here's the forecasted snowfall totals. You can see that there's a big area over here around Denver for anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow. And then as you get up into the higher elevations, some people can expect over 2 feet of snow in May in Colorado. I love it. Maybe a skiff of snow all the way down here into the northern portion of New Mexico as well. So get ready for that. It's already started, but it's not going to end anytime soon, and the snow is going to keep coming down. Make sure you send your pictures and videos to me on Twitter at Ryan Hall, y'all. Now, we've been talking about the extreme heat back here in northern portions of Texas and the panhandle of Texas for a while, but thankfully that cold front is going to get rid of a lot of that. We are going to have some brief relief here in that portion of the U.S., but the extreme heat is now being transferred off to the east. Very, very hot temperatures in southern Texas, central Texas, and eastern Texas. The heat and the humidity is going to be so bad that the local governments are concerned about some power grid failure. But look, it's also hot in the deep south. We're 80, 90, 100 degrees, and then also extreme heat up here in the northeast as well. Look at those lighter browns. We're approaching 100 degrees near Washington, D.C. We've got all kinds of heat problems over here, but thankfully, that big cold front is going to cool everyone off before too long. But look, some of that heat right after the snowstorm, some of that heat's going to come right back into this area over here. So we're going to get locked back into that pattern pretty soon. All right, speaking of patterns, let's look at the future a little bit. Let's go all the way into June here on the GFS model. We're seeing a lot of precipitation in the eastern portion of the U.S., a couple more chances of severe weather, a lot of the same really, nothing really incredible going on until we get to the end. And that's how it always works with the GFS. We've got another hogwash hurricane popping up here around June 3rd, and that does swing around and come right towards the Carolinas as a category 2 or 3 hurricane there. Once again, before anybody else starts hyping this up, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that this is not going to happen. And if it does, we will give you plenty of time beforehand to really prepare for it. There's no point right now in over preparing for this. But once again, this is a good reminder that we are approaching hurricane season, and you might as well go ahead and get your hurricane preparedness plan ready, refresh it, revamp it, go over it with the family, and know what you're going to do whenever we actually do get a hurricane, which is going to happen at some point this year. All right, let's look at the upper air pattern for the rest of the month. This is on the GEFS models. This is the ensembles. This is something that we love to look at when we're looking long term because it puts a bunch of models together and averages them out. And as you can see, by the time we get around May 24th, 25th, a new troughing system might build up over here, and this could mean that we see a little bit more in the way of severe weather on the East Coast during this time period. Now, obviously, we'll make a new video if anything pops up in the short term as far as mesoscale stuff goes, but synoptically, this is a pattern that we would see that could bring some severe weather here to the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley, all the way into the Northeast. That's going to let up a little bit. We'll have a brief period of calmness as we almost have zonal flow through a lot of the U.S. here around the end of May, but look at this big bowling ball of a system coming down from the west there that is going to try to spark up severe weather once again in the plains right towards the end of May. Remember, guys, our blue blobs and our red blobs represents areas of sinking air and rising air. This is usually associated with bad weather. This is usually associated with good weather. Now, on the boundaries of those, we often see storms form up and travel along them, and that's where we see oftentimes our most active severe weather is right on the boundary between our blue blobs and our red blobs. So that's the pattern that we're working into as we go later into May, and then once we get into June, maybe the first week of June, we will have some zonal flow here, and literally it's going to be fun in the sun for just about everyone, except for, of course, in the extreme south, where this will lead to a lot of those summertime popcorn thunderstorms. Day after day after day, hot, steamy weather, and then boom, thunderstorm out of nowhere. That's what we're heading to as we go all the way through June 5th. But of course, this will change, and we'll keep you updated as we go forward. A huge shout out to all of our members over here. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. Things are calming down in the weather world, okay? I think it'll be a couple of days before you see a new video on this channel. Certainly, it'll be a little while before we do another live stream. So if you're wanting extra content, once again, this will be the last time I mention this for a while, but I have other YouTube channels, Ryan Hall Extra, Ryan Hall TV. I'm going to try to make some content for those. So go subscribe to all my YouTube channels. You can find them at the bottom of my main YouTube page. Now, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Ooh.